Although SwiftUI doesn't come with any haptic support built right in, we can get access to haptics using UIKit or Core Haptics, two powerful frameworks built right into iOS and available on all modern iPhones. If you haven't heard the term haptics before, it refers to a tiny little motor inside your phone that spins around at different speeds to create effects like taps, vibrations, and more. It's very, very flexible. Now, UIKit has a very simple implementation of haptics, but that does not mean you should rule it out, because it lets us focus on success or warning or failure, and it means that users can learn how things feel. A certain tap is a success or a certain tap means an error, and that's particularly important for folks who rely more on haptics, such as blind users. They can basically feel that failed without further input from VoiceOver. To try out haptics with UIKit, first add a new method to content view. I'll call this one Func Simple Success here. And inside here, the first step is the access to a generator that makes the actual tap vibration effect. So we'll say, let generator be a UI notification feedback generator here. And once we have one of these things, we can say generator.notification occurred with type success. And to trigger that, just add an on-tap gesture. So like on-tap gesture, perform simple success, like that. Give it a try. Now, obviously, that will not work in the simulator. Your Mac will not buzz when you tap Hello World. Give it a try in a real device and see how it feels. And you'll feel a success tap. Now, if you want to, I recommend you experiment slightly. Try changing success here to be dot warning or dot error, one of the three built-in types we have for notifications. Give them all a try. See if you can tell the difference and decide which ones you actually like. I think, for example, that success and warning are very, very similar, but they are different. For more advanced haptic effects, you've got to bring in a whole other framework called Core Haptics, and this thing feels like a real labor of love from whichever team at Apple made this thing, because they've done an amazing job, and I think it's one of the real hidden gems introduced in iOS 13. I pounced on it as soon as I saw it in the release notes for iOS 13 because it's so much fun. And the reason it's fun is it lets us create completely customized haptics that combine taps and vibrations and parameter curves getting stronger, then weaker over time. I'm not going into too much depth here, but I do want to give you some examples so you can try it for yourself and see what you think. First things first, add an import for Core Haptics. Core Haptics, like that. Next, you want to make an instance of a CH Haptics engine, and this thing is a property that will keep the engine running. So you activate this thing when your view is created, as soon as it appears, preparing it to go, and make your effects based on that engine here. This is actually responsible for making the vibrations, but not you create the vibrations separately, if that makes sense. Anyway, you've got to do it before you make effects. So we'll say in our content view, there's a new property, @state private var engine is a CH haptic engine. Now, you might remember that @state is used for value types stored local to the view, and CH haptic engine is actually a class, not a value type. It's a reference type, not a struct. And the reason we're using @state here is because we don't want this to be destroyed and recreated if SwiftUI recreates our content view struct. It should stay alive the entire time. So the content view struct can be made by SwiftUI again and again and again whenever it wants to, but the haptic engine needs to stay alive between recreations, and that's where @state is useful here because it'll keep it alive no matter what, even though it's not an observable object. Anyway, we're going to create this thing as soon as our view appears, and then we can attach handlers to resume activity if you want to, in case it gets stopped. If the app moves to the background, for example, you can resume somehow. But here we're going to keep it really, really simple. If the device supports haptics, start the engine, and then print an error if that fails somehow. So we'll say there's a new method down here somewhere called prepare haptics. And first things first, check our device supports haptics. We'll say guard ch haptics engine dot capabilities for hardware here dot supports haptics. Else return. So if this device does not support haptics, like I think, for example, iPod Touch does not support haptics, then just bail out, it's fine. If we're still here, we'll start a do block and say our engine equals try ch haptic engine, try and make an engine, and then try doing engine.start. So start it up ready for haptic events from us later on. If that fails, we'll just do print there was an error 2 hours, 3 hours, sorry, creating the engine with error.localized description being printed out. Now for the fun part. We can configure parameters that control how strong the haptic effect should be, which is intensity, but also how sharp it should be, which is called sharpness. Now, those then go into a haptic event with a relative time offset, and they are played at various times. Now, this is something you've got to try on your phone, because I can tell you, intensity means strength. Sharpness, it's an odd term, but it'll make much more sense once you try it out. A sharpness of 0 feels dull in your hand, whereas a sharpness of 1 feels like quite a pointed tap in your hand. So try it out and really feel the difference. But it means with intensity and sharpness, we can make a huge range of effects in a single sequence with those relative time offsets. So add a new method, which is called complex success. As opposed to our simple UIKit success, this will be more complex, customized to be exactly the way you want it to. And again, the first thing we'll do is make sure we have haptic support. I'll just copy and paste that line in. Make sure haptics works here. If it does, we'll make an array called events, which is an array of ch haptic event here. What events we want to have. And in our case, we're going to have one intense sharp tap. Bang! Something happened. So our intensity will be a ch haptic event parameter. It wants a parameter ID and a value. Our ID will be dot haptic intensity and our value 1. So full intensity, really strong. Then sharpness will be a ch haptic event parameter. This time it will be haptic sharpness, value of 1. So really, well, sharp doesn't make sense, but really pointed tap in your hand. We now put these together into a single event. We'll say, let event be a ch haptic event. And this thing will be given an event type plus parameters plus a relative time when to fit in from the rest of our events. In this case, our event type will be a haptic transient event, which is a tap, as opposed to a continuous, which is a vibration event. And our parameters will be our intensity and our sharpness as an array. Relative time 0, start immediately. And we can now put that event into our events array by calling events.append that event. So we now have a single event inside an array, nice and sharp, nice and strong, going immediately. We can then make it into a pattern and play it immediately. We can say let pattern equals a try ch haptic pattern here, with events being our events and parameters being an empty array. And then we'll make a player, which is try engine.makePlayer with that pattern, and then try player.start at time 0. If that fails, catch print failed to play that pattern with error.localized description. Like that. Boom. So there's lots of code there, but we can break it down nice and small. You can have many events. Do this at 0, do this at 1, this at 5, whatever you want to. We only have one here. It is intensity, full strength, sharpness, full sharpness, but I encourage you to experiment with that. Make a transient event, a quick tap basically, from those two things, starting immediately, and put it into our array. We then make a pattern of all the events. So a pattern can have many events inside it. Tap here, sharp, then tap here weekly, whatever you want to, with no parameters attached to that. We then ask our engine, which is made earlier, go ahead and make me a pattern from, player from that pattern, ready to play, which could be done immediately or stashed away and done later. It's down to you. Whereas it's saying here, just start immediately. To try this out, we're going to modify our body up here. So we say, when we appear, perform prepare haptics. Straight away, get the haptic engine ready, start it up, ready to go. And on tap gesture, we'll perform complex success. So play back that event when I tap on Hello World. And that makes sure the haptics are ready as soon as they can be, before the tap occurs, otherwise it won't work correctly. So that's Core Haptics. But if you want to experiment further, you can do. You can go ahead and replace this code here with much, much more functionality to get a whole bunch of events. You might be wondering, why has he made this whole array of stuff when we only have one thing inside it? Because we're going to make more advanced haptics. You can really feel in your hand the difference between the UI kit, simple haptics, and the Core Haptics, completely customizable thing. So, rather than having all this code like a one-off thing, we are instead going to make a loop. We're going to loop using for I in stride. Now, stride's brilliant because it lets us count from to a value by some other value. So we can say count from 0 up to 1, but excluding 1 because it's not count from through, it's 2, by 0.1. So go 0.0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.9, 1. Inside that loop, that's where we're going to have our event being made. But this time we're going to say, yeah, I want a parameter here with haptic intensity, but I want to use the intensity of 0 to 1 upwards. So I can say I want to count upwards from there. Now this thing, if I just put in I in here, it'll say, sorry, you can't do that because for whatever reason, Core Haptics uses float. I don't know why. You got to say float I. Thanks, Apple. Anyway, and then the same thing here, we'll do float I again. So it's going to start dull, but then get sharper over that time. And critically, we're going to keep the same transient effect with intensity sharpness, but relative time will also use I. So we'll do a whole bunch of events from 0 to 1 in 10 seconds as we go, starting dull, getting sharper as it progresses, and add them all to our events array as it goes. We can then, if you want to really push this out, copy and paste the whole thing again. So we've got the first loop here, which says, make me a whole bunch of taps going from very gentle, very dull, up to very strong, very sharp. But then we can then make a decreasing version. So it kind of goes and then down again. So we'll say the same thing, looping from 0 to 1 by 0.1. But this time we're going to say go the other way. We'll do 1 minus I and 1 minus I. So it gets, as I approaches 1, we'll have 1 minus 0.9, so it'll become weaker and weaker and weaker as it goes. And the relative time we'll do 1 plus I, because our first second's passed already from this whole set of previous loops. This will be done afterwards. So it'll go all the way up, sharper and stronger, then all the way down, duller and weaker, like that. Again, I can't run the code in the simulator. It's just not going to work. So run it on your device, give it a feel, get a sense for the power of what Core Haptics can do.